Hello everyone, welcome back to My Hero Academia Podfics. Today I'll be reading a short one-shot that's entitled Flower Halos. This is by Insomniac with Dreams on AO3. This is a Rodydeku fic. It's very short and sweet, but I really like it a lot, so I hope you guys enjoy. Getting shot by an arrow is one of the strangest things that has ever happened to Izuku. That's saying a lot, but it's such a weird sensation. Painful as hell and strange to look down to see a stick that's poking out of his chest. Sure, he's been hit by worse, but normally he gets impaled or punched and nothing but the wound is left behind. Now he has to figure out how to pull the thing out. His companion is quiet at his side, shaking slightly. Izuku wants to reach out, reassure him, or slap him. Maybe both. The air of fear reeking off the other boy is stagnant, so Izuku lets him alone. Reaching up, he gives the arrow an experimental touch. It sends an ache and sting throughout his body. "What are you doing?" his companion asks. He looks even more shaken, eyes settled on the arrow and Izuku's attempts to tug it out. "Well, I have to get it out," Izuku says, gritting his teeth as he grabs the arrow as close to the skin as he can get. "Rip it out, just like a Band-Aid. Except Band-Aids don't normally bury themselves under your skin." "Wait, don't, you could hurt yourself." Izuku smiles at him through his gritted teeth. "Yeah, but we need to move, don't worry." He turns away and yanks the thing out. "Fuck," he breathes, dropping it to the ground and watching blood splatter around it. Izuku prides himself on having an extremely high pain tolerance, but that'll hurt like a bitch. "Oh, God," his companion murmurs. Izuku ignores him and is gesturing towards the pack on his back. "I'll be fine. There's a first aid kit in my bag. Can you get it for me? I'll be all good once I get patched up." "Are you sure?" the other boy asks, digging around for the kit. "Yeah, bad thing is," he pulls out the smashed remains of his phone. "It destroyed my phone." "Are you serious?" his companion asks, tugging the pack completely off Izuku's shoulders. "Take your shirt off." Disgruntled, Izuku slips off his shirt. "Am I serious what?" The bird flits around Izuku's head, chirping and making other odd sounds. He hasn't been able to figure out the animal yet. Not that he's had really any time to analyze the creature, but he also has the feeling it's not very fond of him. That's fine. He's not too fond of it either. It's not every day that something as tiny as the bird can throw him off his tracks. "Your phone should be the last thing of your worries right now," the other boy mutters. He started to clean the wound. His hands shake. Izuku reaches up and grabs his wrist, steadying his hand. The bird makes an odd wounded sound. "I've had worse," Izuku reassures. "And my phone was the only way to stay in contact with my partners." The antibacterial wipe his companion has been using to wipe gingerly around the hole in Izuku's chest. It slips. Izuku lets out a strangled grunt. "Oh my God, I'm sorry," the other boy breathes. "I didn't mean to." "Yup, figured," Izuku grits, and they sit in silence after that. Izuku helps the other boy to wrap his chest after the wound is rubbed down with some cream that has to be loaded with lidocaine. Izuku can't feel his chest anymore. His companion sits back, looking down at his hands. There's blood smeared across his palms. Izuku watches him swallow thickly. He stands, taking a sharp breath as the skin around his wound pulls. Then he holds out his hand. "Come on. There's a pond nearby. You can wash off there." The other boy looks up at him. He doesn't take Izuku's hand as he stands. They find a cave. A mercifully short distance away, Izuku sits on a rock in the back of the cave and watches his companion leave, only to return with a bundle of sticks. The other boy seems a little too good at this whole fugitive thing. Not that he's complaining. The fire crackles between them. Izuku tracks the little bird that hops from rock to rock. It flits about like it's nervous, and occasionally turns to glare or send large, sad eyes at Izuku. He doesn't understand the creature. It's like it can't make up its mind on whether or not to love him or hate him. He finds himself warily eyeing the bird every time it comes near him. "Why did you take the arrow from me?" Izuku raises an eyebrow to the other boy. "What do you mean?" He gets a scoff. "I mean, I betrayed you, didn't I? I took the case and ran. I would have kept running, too. I'm one of those bad guys that you heroes hate." He stands, walking towards the entrance to the cave. The bird croons. "I can't just sit there and let people get hurt," Izuku says. "No matter what." It has been kind of a hard lesson to learn. He often found himself infuriated by villains. He hates their petty hatred of the world, hates that they gave up. A lot of that bitterness came from his own fear that he could have been one of them. But then Kirishima had taught him a lesson, where he stopped to help up a villain and asked if he was okay. Treated him like a human, When Izuku had heard the story, he'd been awed. Kirishima had been shot, his partner down, and his limits pushed, yet in the heat of battle and frustration he remembered humanity. Izuku had made a promise to himself, then and there, that no matter what, in some cases at least, overall can fuck off and die, he'd remember his humanity otherwise. Another scoff falls from his companion's lips. The bird turns large eyes that seem to sparkle onto Izuku. He inches away from it. The other boy goes into the impassioned speech about why he hates heroes, and Izuku is once again reminded of the harsh reality that is class differences. Uraraka can attest to that. Izuku opens his mouth. His companion spins around, snapping at him to save it. The rest of the conversation is lighter, more wistful, and the boy finally smiles at him again. His gray eyes dance with the fire, and something warm pulls in Izuku's chest. Perhaps he just feels that way because the boy had listened as Izuku had talked and explained what being a hero means to him. Whatever it is, the draft that the fire couldn't quite warm away is gone, and Izuku sits in a nice bubble of comfortable heat. The bird settles in Izuku's hair, cooing as if it hadn't been acting odd for the last couple of days. He finds himself not minding the little wait, though. "That's Pino, by the way," Izuku's companion says, motioning to the bird. "I see." Izuku chuckles, reaching a hand up to allow the bird to hop into it. "Pino, it's nice to meet you." "And I'm Rody. Rody Soul. We kind of skipped over introductions." Rody holds out his hand, and Izuku stands to grab it. "I'm Izuku Midoriya, but you can call me Deku." "Deku, huh?" Rody smiles wider. "That's easy enough to remember." "So," Izuku says, "do you have a quirk? I've been meaning to ask." He feels Rody stiffen where he's redoing his bandages. "I don't want to talk about it." "Oh, right. Sorry." Izuku cringes at himself. It's so fucking rude to ask people that. He's so guilty of it. Another thing he's been working on. "It's nothing bad. It's just embarrassing. Kind of a silly quirk." "I don't think any quirk is silly," Izuku says, turning to look at Rody over his shoulder. "Any power is amazing. I even think that sometimes the most simple quirks are the most interesting." Rody laughs, pushing Izuku until he faces forward again. "Promise you won't laugh." "Rody, you don't have to tell me, I promise. But if you want to, I swear I'm not going to laugh at you." Rody finishes securing the bandages. He pats Izuku's shoulder when he's done. Izuku shuffles around to face the other boy. Rody holds open an open palm to Izuku's hair. Pino hops from his green curls into Rody's hand. "It's Pino." Izuku's eyes go wide. "Your bird?" "Yep. She articulates what I'm feeling and my thoughts, so I kind of can't lie when she's around." Izuku stares in newfound wonder at the little bird. Her cheeks are bright red, and she has a wing up to cover her beak. So right now you're actually feeling flustered?" Izuku asks. Rody breathes out a curse that ends up in a little laugh. "Yeah, kind of an odd quirk, isn't it?" "No," Izuku says quickly. "No, it's brilliant." Pino's little chest swells, and her eyes sparkle again. The red tinting on her cheeks still stays. Rody cups her close, hiding her away from Izuku's analytical eyes. "Shit. Sometimes she makes things a tad awkward." There are so many questions bubbling in Izuku's chest, so much he wants to ask, and now the way Pino has been acting makes so much more sense. He loves quirks. His delight must be showing, because Rody laughs. It's really not that impressive. His face is neutral in its happiness, but Pino's is soft, relaxed, staring at Izuku with large eyes. It makes him blush, but he can feel the heat rise in his cheeks. "It is, though. Pino is so unique. You should be proud of your quirk, Rody." Then Rody's face is soft and his eyes are large. "Yeah," he says softly. They both look away from one another. They slept a lot closer to each other that night than they had in the barn. The suitcase is stashed behind the boulder Izuku props himself up against. Rody curls onto his side, back towards Izuku, and face towards the fire and cave entrance. Izuku's determined to stay awake, scared that someone followed them. While the cave acted as a good shelter, it was also the perfect place to get cornered. If it came down to it, though, wounded or not, Izuku had promised to protect Rody from the villains. That is exactly what he plans on doing. Sleep must have caught him at some point, because when Izuku opens his eyes, sunlight is spilling into the cave, and there's some kind of ruckus outside. Rody is also gone. Izuku is up, grabbing everything as fast as he can, and ignoring the protest from his side. He's ready as he can be to defeat whatever is outside the cave. It's Rody. With an ancient-looking vehicle, Izuku's sure it has to be more than rust than truck at this point. "Where did you get a truck?" Izuku asks, and Rody smiles, patting the side of the vehicle. Borrowed her. Figured we were done walking, and don't worry, I left an IOU for the World Heroes Commission. Pino, who's perched on Rody's shoulder, shakes her head. Izuku smiles, unsure of how to interpret that. He gets into the passenger side of the truck. Rody has siblings, 2 tiny little kids that he takes care of by himself. Izuku handles the locket delicately as he studies the tiny pictures inside. Aw, Rody, they're adorable. Suddenly, Rody is right there, bent over Izuku's lap, staring with fond eyes at the picture. I know, right? Rody! Izuku yelps, reaching for the steering wheel. Eyes on the road! Rody just laughs, straightening and tucking the locket back around his neck. We're fine. He sends a wink over to Izuku. I've got you, don't I, hero? Holy shit. Holy shit? Holy shit. Izuku's face flames again. He likes being called hero, likes being called it a lot. He buries his head in his arms. He hasn't felt this flustered over someone since Uraraka. Hey. A warm hand lands on his arm. Sorry, Rody says. His eyes are firmly on the road in front of them. Didn't mean to make you feel uncomfortable. It's fine, Izuku squeaks. He suddenly remembers the map. He scrambles for it. He spends the rest of the ride replaying Don't I, Hero in his mind and reading out directions to Rody. The countryside is distracting, though. It's gorgeous. Rody stops the truck, miles away from their destination, turning to grin at Izuku. I think you'll like this. Then he's out of the truck and running down the slope into a green spread of grass pocketed with wildflowers. Izuku gets out and follows him. The air is fragrant and alive with the hum of bees. They flick about the flowers, fat bodies coming to rest in a yellow center. Izuku touches the petals and watches as Rody weaves a tangle of white flowers into a lopsided halo. He hesitates a split second before depositing it into Izuku's hair. Rody steps back to admire his work. His eyes go soft. Reaching up, he brushes back a few stray curls that had fallen when the halo was set in Izuku's hair. They freeze together, Rody's touch searing against Izuku's freckled forehead, and Rody seemingly only now realizing what he's doing. Sorry, Rody whispers. Pino makes a warbling noise, and Izuku keeps his eyes firmly on Rody, suddenly feeling it unjust that Rody's feelings are so on display, while Izuku can carefully monitor his. Don't be, he finds himself saying. He feels breathless and brave. He reaches up to touch the petals resting on his hair. Does it look good? Yeah, Rody croaks. Yeah, it looks perfect. They're running. From the police, from villains. There's a world to save. Todoroki and Bakugo are probably out looking for him, and yet, for one selfish moment, Izuku lets himself exist. He lets himself chase Rody, who's insanely fast, through the flowers. Lets flower halo after flower halo get woven and placed into his hair, sits and learns to make his own, lets him admire the way that Rody admires him. Eventually, though, they move on. They climb back into the truck, and Izuku wishes he had his phone, wishes he could capture the meadow of flowers, wishes he could capture the boy in the driver's seat, because he isn't really sure how much of this he's going to get to keep. This concludes Flower Halos. It's a really cute one-shot. I really like it a lot. I enjoy any Rodydeku fics, and in my opinion, there's not enough of them out there. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one as well, and as always, thank you all so much for listening.